Yes, as I said, today will be about the REPowerEU plan, which is a very current topic. I guess we will hear more about in a minute. Just shortly about the speaker, to introduce Gonzalo Fernandez Costa is a policy officer on the energy security and energy storage at the European Commission.
Thank you very much, Stephanie, and thanks for the invitation. I will try to share my screen with few slides. I hope that you can see it properly.
Yes.
Well, as Stephanie has said, my name is Gonzalo Fernandez Costa. I'm policy officer in the European Commission in DG Ener, Unit B4, Security of Supply and Safety. And now currently we are under a difficult situation, and the situation in the European energy sector is not easy. So as you know, the EU has reacted swiftly and decisively against the Russians' unprovoked and unjustified invasion of Ukraine, and with a huge impact in the energy sector. So today I will tell you about the REPowerEU plan and how it is related also with energy storage. But the REPowerEU plan is one piece of many activities and many proposals that the Commission has launched recently. On 8th March, we sent and we published a REPowerEU, followed the 18th of May with the REPowerEU plan. This plan is the main strategy to eliminate the dependency of the EU from Russian fossil fuels. And it is the main goal is to reduce this dependency, and as I will explain later on the slides. Then at the same time, the Commission proposed a gas storage regulation to have some gas storage targets in the EU, and this was approved swiftly in a record speed time, and now there is a regulation in place where member states have to achieve 80% of storage, gas storage in Europe, which has been already achieved, and this is one piece of legislation. On 20 July, there was the communication Safeguard for a Safe Winter, with the idea of reducing gas consumption in the EU and in different member states, and with a proposal also of a regulation to reduce demand in the EU. This was also approved in a record speed, and now there is a regulation that it makes mandatory the reduction of gas consumption of 50% until March this year, and with binding targets in case of declaration of an EU alert. And recently, the 14th of September, there has been a new proposal, not approved yet, where with an emergency market interventions to reduce electricity bills. This, as the other ones were more focused on gas, this is more focused on electricity, and now is under negotiation. I will go a bit more into the details later on the presentation. But this is the current situation, the main activities in the energy sector under the current situation. And as I said, the main plan is the REPowerEU. What is REPowerEU? Well, REPowerEU has three main layers, three main objectives. These are, on the one hand, accelerate the clean energy transition. We also have the reduction of demand, and the third layer is like diversifying energy sources. The goal is to reduce and to be independent from Russian fossil fuels by as soon as possible, and for sure by 2027. This combination of these three parts is also done through smart investments at national and EU level to facilitate this reduction of dependency. How it is done? Well, first, we will increase the imports of LNG by, you can see there the figure, by 50 BCMs. There will be increase in pipeline gas imports from other countries. There will be an increase in biomethane. There will be also energy savings that can cut gas consumption by 14 BCMs. There are initiatives to increase rooftop solar energy, to increase the development and deployment of heat pumps, and also increase the deployment of more wind and solar in the EU. This REPowerEU is accompanied by a proposal of increase the targets for renewables to achieve 45% of renewables by 2030 in the EU, and an increase in the target for energy savings from 9% to 13% by 2030. And this creates, of course, a very good opportunity for energy storage and different technologies on energy storage, as I will explain later on. So going deep into these 3 layers of the REPowerEU plan, first is energy savings. There are the need for short-term energy savings and long-term energy savings. In the short term, there are key sectors like households and services or transportation, where actions could be performed. Also, proposal for information campaigns on individual actions like turning down heating or encouraging other means of transport, and also incentivizing other actions for increasing efficiency. These potential savings could be between 5% for gas and 5% for oil, which means many BCMs on the gas sector. And in the long term, of course, it is this target from 9 to 30% by 2030 to increase the energy efficiency in the EU. The other important initiative is the solar strategy, and to increase the development of solar energy in the EU. This is done. There are 4 flagship initiatives to do this. On the one hand, we have the EU Solar PV Industry Alliance. The goal of this alliance is to increase and to facilitate the value chains and the industry of PV manufacturing and the PV industry in the EU. There is also a permitting packages to facilitate the development and the permitting procedures in the EU. We have also the European Solar Rooftop Initiative to facilitate and to encourage PV solar plants in households and industries buildings. And then we have also a program for scaling up skills on solar PV. These flagship initiatives also have in mind the energy storage as a key technology that can supplement PVs and can facilitate their deployment. More going deep into the permitting, one of the main obstacles for the deployment of renewables is the permitting, lengthy procedures with difficulties in the national level with the deployment, and lengthy periods to achieve and to facilitate to achieve these permitting procedures. So the Commission has identified these issues also regarding grid connection and constraints regarding skills. So there are proposals to reduce or facilitate the permitting at EU level. And one is a guidance on good and best practices at EU level, and that could facilitate and give good examples to member states on how can the permitting procedures be faster and develop. Then we have also a recommendation on speeding up permitting, granting procedures, and power purchase agreement. And the third one is an amendment of the Renewables Energy Directive, where it is created the renewable go-to areas, that are areas where permitting could be facilitated because of their environmental conditions, and where permitting could be accelerated and the procedures could go faster, so as to facilitate the deployment and facilitate a rapid deployment of renewables in these areas. But in addition to solar, we have in the REPowerEU focus on how to increase hydrogen and biomethane, like renewable gases, in order to shift the consumption of gas. Regarding hydrogen, there is the objective of 10 million tons of renewable hydrogen for domestic production and imports by 2030. To achieve this goal, there will be place a regulatory framework with delegated acts and standards on hydrogen. Important funding through the IPCEs are the important projects of common interest. Recently, the Commission has approved one of them on hydrogen, the second one that it is approved, and this is where funding from member states and different industry that are together to encourage the deployment and the research and innovation and deployment of certain technologies like hydrogen. And there is funding there to facilitate the deployment and the increase of the value chain and the industry on this sector. There will be a faster deployment of infrastructure with support from the CEF funding. And there will be also a progress report on hydrogen and how it is growing in the coming years. Also we have biomethane with increasing the goals and duplicating the production by 2030 with investment up to 36 billions with different programs from the EU, and also establishing an industrial biogas and biomethane partnership to facilitate again the deployment of biomethane in the EU. And REPowerEU also has this short-term intervention. Here I mentioned the ones from REPowerEU, but as I said, after REPowerEU, several others have come. In REPowerEU, there is the prolongation of taxation regulation measures to facilitate the removing of inframarginal returns of certain generation. The current proposal from the Commission goes a bit further and make it mandatory, as I will explain later. Then we have a temporary extension of the scope of regulated retail prices to SMEs, small and medium enterprises. There will be also, there is the proposal of measures to subsidize the input from cost of marginal power generation technologies, and exceptional use of congestion rents to finance the energy sector and to reduce the bills from consumers, and also an accelerated use of demand response. This is on the electricity market. On the gas market, we have an energy purchases platform, a retail price reduction, liquidity support, and also preparedness in the gas sector. But as I said, these measures have been, there are new measures in place. On the one hand, we have this gas storage regulation with the goals of achieving 80% this year and 90% for next year of gas storages in the EU. Then we have the communication of Safe Gas for Safe Winter with this 50% of gas reduction during the winter, and doing it for now. It is not mandatory, but it will be in case of an union alert. It is activated, and then recently in September, the emergency market intervention for electricity. This, just to give you a few comments on this emergency market intervention has three main actions. One is, the goal is to reduce electricity prices. One is to make obligation to reduce electricity consumption at least 5% during the selected peak hours. Here is a good opportunity for energy storage that they, because this technology can shift this peak consumption during the peak hours. And overall, the measure also includes an overall reduction of 10% between until 31st March of 2023 of electricity consumption. The second part is a temporary revenue cap on inframarginal electricity producers, so those that have lower costs, like renewables, nuclear, or lignite. And however, energy storage and other flexibility technologies are not included under this. So in order to not to hamper the development of this kind of flexibility tools. The cap on this is 180 euros per megawatt hours, and this will be collected by member states and used in their bills. And the third part is a temporary solidarity contribution to the profit generated from other activities like oil, gas, coal, or refineries. And this will be as well collected by member states and redirected to consumers. There is also work in progress on how, if there is a need to put cap on gas consumption and how to improve the liquidity of the markets. That it is under more discussion. So these are additional short-term interventions to those that you see on the screen that are the ones mentioned in the REPowerEU plan. Another important element, of course, is diversification of gas supplies. So in April 2021, we were dependent on Russian imports at gas imports for 40%. So we imported 40% of our gas consumption from Russia. In April, when the REPowerEU communication was published, it was 26%, and now it is around 9% the import dependency from Russia. So the measures are working, and Europe is working on reducing gas consumption, reducing gas dependency from Russia. How to do this? Well, it is important the LNG. LNG has increased dramatically, and the import from LNG, thanks on the one hand from the EU-US joint statement, where the US mentioned the possibility to increase the deliveries of LNG to the EU, but also with trilateral agreements with Egypt, Israel, and also increasing imports from Algeria, Azerbaijan, and Norway. Many imports and negotiations are ongoing to increase and diversify the imports from gas from other countries. Not only on LNG, but also pipelines that they have increased the import from pipelines as the gas from Russia has been reduced. And one key platform to perform this diversification of supplies is the EU Energy Platform. It is a platform that aggregates different stakeholders and authorities to facilitate the common purchase of gas outside the EU. There is the way to aggregate demand for purchasing and increasing negotiations. It is also an efficient way to use the EU gas infrastructure, and also facilitates the creation of a platform for cooperation into hydrogen and gas. This platform has been created and is ongoing in the progress to facilitate and increase the diversification of gas supplies. As mentioned, infrastructure is very important for gas to facilitate the import from gas, LNG, import from gas through pipelines, and also to reverse flows from the usual flows that was before. New floating units and projects could bring additional capacity to the EU, nearly to 1 BCM per month by the end of this year. And this is also something that we are looking into to facilitate the investment on this grid infrastructure. And then we have the International Energy Engagement Strategy, also facilitating the diversification of supplies. And this energy energy platform play a role to coordinate infrastructure, negotiations with international partners, and to prepare for these joint gas and hydrogen purchases. This international strategy has several main and key ideas. One is to promote the international phase out of coal power generation and fossil fuels. It will also accelerate the global green energy transition and implement the joint energy transition partnership with South Africa. It will implement the EU-Africa Green Energy Initiative and the rollout of renewables and energy efficiency savings worldwide. It will also look into the critical raw materials and fair access to them, and also make energy efficiency and savings a global priority. This strategy also looks into how to push forward the global methane pledge and to reduce methane emissions worldwide. And up here, it is the REPowerEU, and the main elements on how the EU is progressing on how to reduce how to reduce the dependency from Russian gas. And in this context, energy storage plays a very important role. And I will go now deep into the details on what and how can energy storage and the different energy storage technologies help in this energy transition, and also to reduce this, to increase security of energy supply. First, the goals, climate goals in the EU for 2050. The European Green Deal provides like the framework, and the goal is to be climate neutral by 2050. This framework was put into legal obligation with the European climate law, and this includes also a target of reducing 55% the emissions by 2030. And in this context, energy is very important because it accounts in the EU for more than 75% of the EU's greenhouse gas emissions, which means that more renewables are needed in the energy system. For example, in the electricity system, for 2030, 65% of renewables will be connected into the grid. And as you know, energy storage can play an important role in different ways. It could facilitate the electrification of the economy and the integration of renewables, shifting energy when it exists to a time where it is more needed. It could increase the flexibility and security of the energy system, and it can lower prices during peak time. Three elements very important under the current context and in the future energy system. So it is a technology that we are looking and paying a lot of attention. A main principle is that energy storage should be market-based activity. It competes with other flexibility technologies like demand response or interconnections, and also compete between different energy storage technologies. So the main principle should be market-based activity. But of course, some technology require further support for the development because of the research and innovation conditions, or because of the future importance to achieve the certain decarbonization goals or security goals. The relevance of energy storage was also highlighted by the European Parliament in July 2020. With a resolution on energy storage that provides a comprehensive overview of energy storage and also explores the potential of energy storage in the EU. We have conducted at the same time in 2020 an energy storage, a study on energy storage and how it could contribute to the security of electricity supply in Europe. This study creates a database on storage facilities in the EU. It also assesses the flexibility needs for 2030 and 2050 and identify barriers and provides recommendations in the EU. In particular, this study key findings say that there is an important role of batteries and pump hydro in the short term, 2030, and a key role of electrolyzers in the different timeframes, and high potential of electric vehicles and thermal storage providing daily flexibility. We are now conducting another study to go deep into some of the findings and more details on energy storage. And what is the regulatory framework for energy storage in the EU? Well, the key regulation is the Clean Energy Package, where the electricity market is designed. This was approved in 2019. And here we have for the first time a definition for energy storage. Energy storage open because it accommodates different energy storage technologies and also potential, including, for example, hydrogen, when it makes possible to shift energy from one period on time to another one, and all technologies that can be used as another energy vector carrier. So all technologies that can facilitate the shifting energy in the electricity and in the power sector, they are considered energy storage according to the definition, and they are regulated in the Clean Energy Package. The Clean Energy Package also provides the regulatory framework for their participation in the electricity markets. It creates a competitive, consumer-centered, flexible, and non-discriminatory electricity markets where energy storage and other flexibility tools can participate in a level playing field and competing with other technologies. And there is a promotion of aggregation that it is also very useful for energy storage, distributed energy storage. Promotion of dynamic prices for final consumers, where energy storage also could play an important role, saving energy and facilitating managing energy for final consumers. There is a rollout of smart meters, and also promotes storage for active consumers that are participating in the energy markets and participating in the electricity markets. Also, electric vehicles, they are promoted and in the regulation. So energy storage can also, above all, batteries can also participate and are also get some benefits from the work on electric vehicles. And there is a provision also in the Clean Energy Package that provides a limited role for system operators, transmission system operators, and distribution system operators, and they can only, in principle, they cannot be involved in storage activities, but only in cases under certain conditions and with the approval of the national regulatory authority. This is the main regulatory framework. However, energy storage is not only energy. Energy storage affects many other DGs, and it also involves many other activities. And energy storage has a cross-cutting relevance, appearing in many EU activities, many EU legislation that is proposed or it is already proposed. For example, in the energy system integration and hydrogen strategies, energy storage plays an important role, and it could be and it is highlighted as an important element to the development of the integration and the development of hydrogen in the EU. Then under the renovation wave and performance of buildings, there's important elements there for energy storage. Energy storage, above all, combined with solar or energy storage as regards the electric vehicles, the smart charging or bidirectional charging, and how they can provide flexibility to the system or facilitate the adaptation of consumers to the energy prices, and therefore providing also flexibility and savings to the final consumers. As I mentioned, electromobility and alternative fuel infrastructure is very relevant for energy storage. for electric vehicles and for a potential second life of batteries, and as well how looking into how vehicle-to-grid services can facilitate flexibility in the EU and how they affect the batteries and the electromobility in general in the EU. Regarding batteries also, we have the proposal of batteries regulation. This battery regulation look into the sustainability of batteries. They are growing energy storage technology that also requires attention. And there are also important elements on the second life and recycling of batteries that could also create benefits to the electricity system and also to ensure that the environmental protection requirements are fulfilled at EU level. There is a growing attention for critical raw materials and supply chains. On the one hand, because of the high dependency of certain technologies on raw materials, and when under the current circumstances, we have seen how dependencies can create difficulties and above all in the energy sector. So we should now change from one dependency to another. And the EU is very much looking into how the different clean technologies are dependent on raw materials, and also promoting strong supply chains at EU level. And through strategies and different partnerships, they use working on having resilient supply chains and monitoring of raw materials at EU and at the international level. And related with that is the research and innovation. The main funding program is Horizon Europe, but the story was already very much promoted in the previous program, Horizon 2020. And it is and will continue be promoted and supported at EU level with the current calls from Horizon Europe and the Innovation Fund. There is important support for batteries and for hydrogen, but also other technologies like flow-based batteries or sodium batteries, and also the integration of energy storage in the system, as well as pump hydro or other technologies that could facilitate and could could come up with new technologies important and useful for the current or future energy system. This also facilitates and creates a strong and resilient industrial value chains in the EU, and there are initiatives and alliances, for example, in batteries or in hydrogen, supporting and making easy the development of a strong supply chain in Europe for these technologies. There are also some initiatives regarding taxonomy and energy taxation, facilitating target to energy storage, and in particular in the proposal of the Energy Taxation Directive, there is a provision to reduce and to avoid the double taxation for energy storage. As you know, energy storage has a double role, consumer generation, so sometimes they are taxed double, and there is a proposal on the table from the Commission for avoiding this double taxation in the EU, specifically for energy storage. And energy storage was considered under the taxonomy as a contributor to climate change adaptation and mitigation, which also facilitates the investment on energy storage in the EU. And it is also an important element, the public funds for the energy storage, as not always energy storage is available to create a business case, or at least the long-term visibility of revenues doesn't make easy to find financing. Therefore, sometimes there are public funds supporting the development and deployment of energy storage. And here we find, for example, the Recovery and Resilience Facility. This is a program created after the pandemic, and this program is for the recovery of the EU. And energy storage was considered as an element eligible to receive fundings from the EU and from member states under these recovery and resilience plans. And therefore, some member states have initiatives of reforms or both target for energy storage and for the development of energy storage. This is also under InvestEU, with this tool facilitate the financing and funding of this initiative and the creation and development of energy storage. And the Commission has also revised the guidelines for the environmental and energy guidelines. These guidelines are the main framework for the state aid rules, and they have been adapted to facilitate the deployment of clean energy technologies and the financing and support from public authorities to these technologies. And this has also increased the relevance of energy storage and how now energy storage is a bit more easier to finance from public funds at the EU level. And all these relevant initiatives were very well reflected under the Fit for 55 package proposal. For example, the Renewables Energy Directive increased the targets on renewables and increased the relevance of flexibility and storage in the EU. The Energy Efficiency Directive also has relevant elements there to encourage demand response and energy storage in buildings. The Energy Taxation Directive, as I said, removes the double taxation and the risk of double taxation for energy storage. There are also important elements regarding the transport sector, with the revision of the CO2 standards for cars, vans, aviation and maritime. And the EPBD, that is the energy efficiency for buildings. There is also an effective control of energy storage and use of energy in buildings. So the Fit for 55, that is the main package looking into achieving the 55% reduction for 2030 in the EU, also has into account energy storage and the potential support of energy storage in achieving the Green Deal and the EU objectives. In any case, as you have seen, energy storage is a complex topic. It's not only energy, and it is not only one unit. It requires many elements and to pay attention from different angles. It is a complex technology that has many technologies involved that compete with other technologies, and that sometimes are very mature and others are just developing. So it requires a big framework, and it also has this double role, consumer generator, that also needs to special attention. And the flexibility needs are increasing. And in fact, the study that we are working on and will be published, I hope, before the end of this year, looks again into these flexibility needs for 2030 and 2050, with now the new and more ambitious objectives, and shows the need for more flexibility at EU level. In addition to flexibility, there are other elements and where energy storage could also play an important role. And we are looking into this, into how the different energy storage technologies can participate, what are their role at EU level, and also the market value and the framework for energy storage, and to look into potential activities and potential action at EU level that can facilitate the deployment of energy storage. There is also a very relevant initiative, that is the Investors Dialogue, that they are looking into how to facilitate investment in green technologies with one specific group that is looking into energy storage. How is the current financing framework for energy storage? What are the needs? How are the EU instruments working, and what other instruments may be needed to facilitate the financing? So overall, energy storage is considered, and we consider energy storage a key technology, be relevant in the current situation of because it can help increasing security of supply, and also in the future energy system with the green transition and the Green Deal objectives that require also additional renewables and clean technologies that can facilitate their integration and managing these technologies. So this is all from my side. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them.
First of all, many thanks for, I guess, condensing a lot of information. Yeah, many thanks for the insights and of the REPowerEU plan and all the further works. I guess it's quite, you made it really clear how complex the system is, especially in this scale. So we have one question in the chat. I will just read it so that it's also in the tape. It's from Raymond Dikovet. I hope it's somehow the name spelled right. He says, thank you, Gonzalo. Still, the regulations are not coping enough with the situation we are in now. More energy storage is needed and more quickly. What are the latest plans to suggest to the EU Commission?
Well, one of our priorities of our work is to put energy storage in, as I said, in the different angles and to support energy storage in different ways. There are different technologies that compete each other and that we also want to have a technology neutral approach to all of this. And we continue constantly working on possible EU actions for the development and deployment of energy storage. As I said, we are now just about to publish a study. In fact, there are 2 studies that look into the needs of flexibility in general, the potential needs for energy storage, and also the potential barriers, best practices and international level, best practices in the EU. So these studies should help us to look into more details and to see to what extent more support it is needed. In any case, every regulation always takes into account, in general, energy storage. We try to put energy storage in the different frameworks and to create a EU framework that facilitates the implementation and facilitates the development of energy storage. There is a huge support from Horizon Europe, for example, to the development of energy storage technologies. There is huge support now from member states in the recovery and resilience facilities for certain for deployment of certain technologies. So, and we see that the markets in Europe are growing. Maybe there are other countries that are growing faster than in the EU, but in general, we see how the trend is increasing. We also see behind the meter storage developing in certain member states. So yes, we are looking into possibilities and we are looking into what is needed. And we will continue working on possible needs for energy storage and all technologies that are close to energy storage. So thank you for your question. I hope that the reply is okay with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So is there any other question? Just write in the chat or you can give the sign.
Yeah, Eliodoro Chiavazzo from Technic Torino here. Thank you, Gonzalo, for the presentation. Very interesting. So when talking about energy storage, we mainly, or people mainly refer to electrochemical, or what about thermal energy storage and the integration of thermal energy storage with other kind of technologies? What kind of support do you see in the EU framework? Is there any future calls or anything to support this kind of, because thermal is really, we keep saying that this is the sleeping giant in energy, but there is little support so far on that.
In fact, yeah, we see that thermal is very important, as the thermal consumption in the EU is huge, is immense. Decarbonization of it is in fact a challenge. And thermal energy storage sometimes, as I said, energy storage is complex. The definition is also complex, and sometimes thermal energy storage could be not, may not be always like taken into account, but from our side, I can assure you that we have it always in mind. In the Horizon Europe, there are calls and specific calls for thermal energy storage. And of course, it is a technology that it is developing, and they are, well, probably you know better. They are still need to support certain technologies, but it is a technology that we are also looking into. That the study also tips a bit on energy storage, thermal energy storage, different technologies, how they can help supporting the decarbonization and the energy system. And it is a technology that in fact we are looking into, and we will continue work on it. It is true that when the regulations usually are technology neutral, they support energy storage and other flexibility technologies in general, so they are not technology specific, and the regulatory framework should be the same for all of them. So in principle, this market-based approach, it is there in the regulation, and all technologies compete each other and develop according with their costs and the different opportunities. So from the regulation point of view, the main objective is to create the framework for the deployment. It is true that when it comes to financing and to support, there are maybe some technologies that appear more relevant and maybe have more support because of the current status or the situation or the potential use in the future. This is, for example, batteries that has a huge support in the Horizon Europe, or hydrogen, but other technologies are always there present, and they are technology neutral calls where other technologies can be part of it. But in fact, we are aware of the importance of thermal, and we have an eye on that, and we'll continue working on facilitating the deployment also of that technology.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I like this approach that technologies should not be in competition. We have to search strategies to integrate them, right, and to make synergies out of different technology. There is no good and bad technology. They should be integrated.
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you, Leodoro.
Okay, yeah, many thanks also for this question. Is there anyone who has one more question? Yes, Christoph, please.
Yeah, thanks, Gonzalo. Thanks for your presentation. Just a quick question. You mentioned a solar initiative in the REPowerEU program. I was just wondering, what about wind energy? Is this also addressed in the REPowerEU program, or and maybe I missed it? I hope not, but maybe you can comment on wind energy.
I mentioned solar because it is one important component of the REPowerEU. But of course, there are other technologies. I mean, renewables in general, it is supported. For example, with the go-to areas, this is for renewables in general. It is an amendment of the Renewables Energy Directive, and there wind is included, and there areas where the environmental protection assessment may be easier. There should the permitting be fast, make it faster. So technologies renewable in general should go. And this also includes energy storage combined with wind, combined with solar or other forms of energy storage. So yes, wind is in the equation, but with the REPowerEU plan, there was a big push to solar because there was the initiative of rooftops for solar, and there was also the solar strategy. So this was like a bit more focus on solar, but the amendments of the Renewable Energy Directive, it is for all renewable energy technologies.
Okay, thanks a lot.
And in fact, many projects now are being, we see like a growing number of projects of combination solar with other renewable technologies like wind or solar. So this is one of the areas where energy storage is developing, and it is supporting you see clearly the support from energy storage to the integration of renewables. Yeah. Thank you, Christoph.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well. So yeah, considering the time, I would say, or if there's one more question, I guess we have time for this. Okay, if not, then I would, yeah, thank you, Gonzalo, many thanks. It was a very nice talk. Gave a great overview about what's happening, and I guess really opened the light on how complex it is. Even the definition of energy storage is quite complex. So yes, many thanks for this.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And I just want to end the presentation, giving a little spoiler for the next talk. It works. Yeah. So the next energy storage online seminar will be on the 27th of October. So in 5 weeks, it will be about the task 36, which is still running, but there will be conclusions and highlights so far. The topic is Carnot batteries, and Andrea Gutierrez will be the speaker for this talk. I'm looking forward to this, and yes, many thanks for the talk again. We have now one more question in the chat. I don't know if you want to write directly. I will leave the chat open, but we'll close the seminar for now. Many thanks again, and have a nice evening or afternoon or wherever you are in the moment.